The following 15-minute video is a condensation of generalized and detailed information I found in the 2 out of 12 hours I spent yesterday researching, which is a bad sign. This video is also a request for comment, a request for information for any source of information that would contribute to clearing up some of the details, the lack of them, and contradictions in some of the sources. I have done my best to make this into a chronological order reproduction of that data, saving you 12 hours worth of work possibly. Also, if you want to help, don't give me a long-form content thing without a timestamp, and don't give me promotional links generally saying, look up this such and such YouTube channel or podcast, it's awesome. Just real useful information. This was a very frustrating project. 1974, September 1st at 9 a.m. Copper, Oregon, which is in Siskiyou Mountains. Someone visited Guy Watkins' general store called the Copper Store. Richard Cowden brought his kid along with him, and they bought a carton of milk, specified as carton, not quart. Then they went about a mile to Belinda Cowden, his wife, and their other kid at their campsite at Carberry Creek Road or Carberry Creek or Carberry Creek Campsite. Variations on this exist. I should also state here that a lot of the reproductions, and they are, of the story contain spelling errors that keep getting perpetuated. I'll bring those up later, but let's move on. That's why it's a request for comment and information. That same day at noon, a person named Dwain Lee Little was supposed to have been spotted at, quote, a local restaurant. No information on where this is given. There's no map of the area for reasons I'll bring up later. The lack of detail in a criminal case is weird. By 5 p.m. the same day, a Los Angeles family was also at the campground area and saw a pickup truck with 2 men and a woman parking nearby, saying they acted like they were waiting for us to leave. That made us nervous, so we moved on. Their description of the 3 people in the car, and the pickup truck, matches the one that belongs to Dwain Little and his mother and father, Margret and Bruce. Not our 4-person family here. After dinner time, Belinda, the mother, went about a mile to their camp because she lived a mile away from where they were camping, and they were going to go from the camp to her house for dinner, but they didn't show up, so she went to check on them. And or she went with the store owner. Again, different pages have different narratives. And then it's only mentioned that Belinda's mother found the family's 1956 Ford pickup truck parked on the road with their clothing in it. Moving further in, on a picnic table was the truck's keys, Belinda's purse, a diaper bag, a fully assembled camp stove, and a half-full carton of milk. Not a quart, a carton. Again, different narratives say different things. Let's move forward. On the ground full of cold water, was a dishpan. Belinda's open cigarette pack was nearby. Richard's expensive wristwatch and his wallet with $21 were sitting there on the ground. That's a span of 5 hours or so. Or more. Because again, it's, quote, after dinner. We don't know. It's after 5, or is it before 5? Again, a lack of details. Only the family of 4 and their bathing suits were missing. The presumption that would obviously be gathered is that they went to the creek or something. But they waited around and they didn't show up. At that point, the local police did show up and start searching the area, but only until they couldn't see properly at night, and then they went home, because they kind of figured nothing bad had happened. The next day, September 2nd, 1974, in the morning, that's all it said, at the Copper, Oregon general store, the Copper Store, their pet dog, Droopy Dog, who is a basset hound and fit the name, was scratching at their front door of that store. Sometime during the day, a search restarted. Now, this one is referred to as the largest search for missing persons in state history, but almost all of the time, date, detail, it's gone. There's nothing there. The same day, sometime during the day, this one's actually a good reason not necessarily to have the time and date stamp, a miner who owned a cabin nearby also had a guest book for people who visited if they wanted to sign in. And he had kept it, where anybody could get to it. And on that day, somehow it was noticed that it was signed by Dwain Lee Little and his mother and father, Bruce and Margret. This puts them in the area the day after they went missing and the day they went missing, and very close to the area on the day they went missing. So Dwain Lee Little and or his mother and father might be implicated. Let's move forward. December, months later, Dwain Lee Little was seen with a .22 caliber gun in his possession by his girlfriend. Also, it was found that July of 1974, months earlier, Dwain Lee Little's mother had bought a .22 caliber rifle locally, and there was evidence for it. And again, this information isn't posted anywhere. Now, the thing is, very consistently in all of these, the name of the company producing the rifle is Marlon. Almost absolutely it's Marlin, not Marlon, but it keeps being used. I'm going to point that out as one of many things that looks heavily cut and pasted by everybody long before AI could be blamed for it, okay? Now, Dwain Lee Little's home was 18 miles away, and they got a search warrant. And the .22 caliber Marlin rifle wasn't found, but a follower spring that would fit it and would be commonly used for that was found. And when they tried to search their truck, which again was seen at the scene, it had been deep cleaned. Like, to the point that it was extremely noticeable. And Dwain Lee Little did not want to take a polygraph. But again, we don't have records on time and date stamps. When did this happen? We don't have court records, investigator notes. Okay, let's move on. April 12th the next year, 1975, near Carberry Creek, but 7 miles from the campsite. So we're talking about upriver, since Carberry Creek effectively empties into what is now a lake. We don't have exact information on this. And depending on the narrative, it says, on a steep hillside, and nothing else, or up a little game trail from the level camp spot up the hill, or up the hill from a level camp spot up a game trail. No precision of data. This is a crime scene. Richard's body was found, tied to a tree. 100 feet away, no directions given, were given even less data. A small cave had been found with the entrance sealed up with rocks, and this had hidden Belinda and the 2 children. The family of 4 have been found. And again, the only thing missing when they found the scene was the family of 4 and their bathing suits. And no description is given about it, most of what happened at this crime scene, because all the bodies were heavily decomposed. 1 had died from a severe head trauma. 2 or 3, depending on where you look it up, were shot, and it either says in the head or doesn't say anything. Richard's death was indeterminate due to decomposition. They couldn't figure out how he died, but he was simply tied to a tree and might have just been left there to die slowly. I don't know. And it's indicated that a .22 caliber rifle was used. Now, there's no explanation as to why. There were autopsies, but no information was given why that was the conclusion. Next, a resident of Grants Pass who had volunteered the day after everybody was found missing, September 2nd, during the search, he said he searched the area where this cave was. And he was led there, he led them there to show it to them, so they definitely knew he'd searched there. And he said, at the time, on the 2nd, they didn't see anything there. So this happened afterwards. So all 4 victims were brought there in whatever condition they were in and left there after the search had ended, most likely entirely. And again, this is 7 miles away. It's within the 12-mile range people talked about, or 25-mile range, excuse me. An inmate at a prison said he had a conversation with Mr. Little, Dwain Lee Little, and said that Dwain Lee Little confessed to the murders. This is mostly a footnote. Nobody was charged for this. 8 other cases of disappearing women were linked to Ted Bundy, so it's not associated with him. Next, the town of Copper was flooded by putting in a dam and created Applegate Lake by 1980. A stream that empties into it is where the Cowdens camped. And that's going to be literally the same named stream. So we have a general idea. Next, in 2020, someone who's listed as an Oregon State Police detective, retired, named Richard Davis, who is supposed to have been one of the people who investigated this originally, mentions the following. A single bullet was found. Now, everybody knows that I'm going to go off on that in a minute, but let's go on. And said that it belonged to, and again the misspelling, Marlon manufactured rifle, a Marlon rifle. Okay. This may be a Marlin Model 60 or 39, which was very commonly available and is practically the only Wikipedia article about rifles at the time. Next, even when police say bullet or unspent round or whatever, all of these words are very vague. Was it the projectile called a bullet? Was it a cased ammunition that had not been fired, quote, the unspent round, or called a round or a cartridge? Or was this a bullet? Now, I'm going to go into explaining this in a minute, but let's talk about the background for the gun and stuff. Micro-groove rifling, 1953 to 1980, was a patent by Marlin Firearms. It was so distinctive, and it was a monopoly they had till 1980, or another page will say 1970, that only a Marlin rifle or pistol or shotgun or whatever could have that micro-grooving. And yes, there was a shotgun they made that had the micro-grooving. I'm just going to throw that out there. The most likely candidate, again, being the Marlin Model 60 or 39 that was commonly available at the time. This would have had 16 grooves around the bullet, one turn in 16 inches as the angle for those grooves, a right-hand twist, and that would be for a 22 caliber rimfire barrel that could take 22 short, long, extra long, etc. And just long rifle. The year 2020 was the first year Marlin had any ammunition branded. So if it's an unspent round, as they say, a cartridge, it wouldn't have had any indication it was Marlin made. So that can't be it. So it has to be a bullet. The bullet that would have been fired would have had some forensic data or ballistic data mentioned someplace. Where is it? A detective saying it had to come from a Marlon rifle when that's not the name for it. There is note on many web pages when you look up Marlon of people either misspelling it or it being a knockoff gun labeled Marlon. It can also be referring to someone who was literally running a company named Marlon. This is oddly specific and yet vague and yet looks like a simple spelling error because on a typewriter, the I and the O are right next to each other. I typed it by accident while doing the video's data here. Let's move on. Next, the Wikipedia entry on this has very few changes, but it changes from 3 people being shot with a .22 to 2 between 2023 July and August. Before that, it was 3 shots. There's very few people guarding this article. Next, maps. I had to look up maps that were hard to find. 1970s Jackson County tax maps was it. Also, I want to point out that when you look it up, and I have a full link below in description, when you look it up, it shows a schematic representation of the town as a flow diagram for traffic, not an actual map, which is not done anywhere else in any of the maps for that year. If you have more information, this is a request for comment, request for information, please post useful links, not some promotional link and not something to a long drawn-out podcast or video. I'm frustrated because I spent 12 hours looking this up, got 2 hours of productive time, and I can condense it to 15 minutes, and so should someone else doing a much better job than me. If you have any corrections, please post them. That's what I'm asking for. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. Bye.